Not yet.
Okay, there we go.
There we are.
Hey guys, we're here today for another cuddle conversation. I'm Ajaire Parello and Sheila's
I'm
with me.
Sheila Ryan.
Sheila Ryan. We're gonna wait just a couple minutes just to see who wants to pop in. I'm gonna try to pull up the comments while we're waiting. See if I can get. Last time we had a little trouble getting in and seeing the comments, which was really annoying. I feel like every time we do this, Facebook has done something different. So I might try to hop on YouTube and check out the comments. But let us know all of your questions about Cloud Cuddle. So Shannon Fabrics, Cloud Cuddle. We're going to tell you all you need to know about sewing with it.
And Serging.
And serging, yes.
I feel like that's our new thing. It's like we're going to add sewing and serging to all our conversations now.
Yes, we've been doing a collaboration with Bernina and their sergers. And so Sheila and I are completely obsessed with serging the entire world at this point because it goes so well with cuddle. It's kind of, you wouldn't expect it to be something that works so well with cuddle when you just think about it, the thickness of the cuddle and all that, but it's just amazing how easily it surges. And so now we just want to serge everything.
Exactly. We should make that the topic of our another cuddle conversation, just serging cuddle.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. All right. So I
can see we've got some eyeballs.
Yes.
So if you're here, let us know where you're watching from. Just when you do that, that actually helps the algorithm make sure other people see it too. So you're not, I mean, you are saying hi and we love to see that you're here. But it helps the video it tells Facebook that somebody's watching it. And so other people should be watching it too. So I see Roberta from Texas. Hello, Texas.
Yay, I see her too. So good. I can actually see the comments this time. It's working.
Good. Yay.
And over on YouTube too. We're happy to see you over there.
Great. There's Pat. Hello, Pat. Yay. And if you have worked with Cloud Cuddle, which is a special kind of minky from Shannon Fabrics that's two-sided. If you've worked with Cloud Cuddle before, let us know that in the comments. So it's fun to talk about new fabric, but we realize that, there's a lot of people that haven't worked with it yet. And so we want to answer those questions. So what we're here today really to do is to help you understand the fabric if you haven't ever worked with it. Or if you've worked with it and you've run into an issue, we'll help you figure that out so you can master it. Because once you know the tricks, it's smooth sailing. So, good. I see Ohio. Kathy's here from Ohio, and Marcy's here from Port Charlotte, Florida.
Yes.
Fun.
And Pat, so she's Illinois. We got people all over the place. I'm in Maryland. Sheila, you're down in Texas, right?
Yep.
Although you was probably not down in, but for me.
No. Yeah, I'm down in Texas. So we're in the south of Texas. So you would think that cuddle is not for Texas, but let me tell you, even for those of us that are at peak hormonal transition times of our life, cuddle is for us too, even in South Texas. Oh, yeah. So, Quebec. Now, cuddle's definitely for Quebec.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
But here in Maryland, it's like the fiery pits of hell in the summertime. I mean, it's not, it is so humid and thick and nasty. I mean, you guys get it year round, so I can't complain. But for us, it gets so bad this time of year, and still cuddle in the car, cuddle. I mean, it's just like there's just cuddle everywhere. The girls can't get enough of it.
I can't sleep without my cuddle blanket. That may be a little TMI. I take it with me, so I'm going on a trip this week, and I take my blanket, I take my cuddle pillow, I take it all.
That's why you need a lovey size. You need that little
No, I take my big one.
Oh.
You remember when we were roommates at in LA when Shannon brought us all out? You were my roommate, and I had a hard time sleeping without my cuddle blanket. And then we had gotten some fabric, and
we got the fabric, and so it wasn't even a blanket; it was just literally the fabric. But it's just so soft. It's like being able to rub that at night, so comfortable.
It does. Pat says she uses hers for a quick nap. Yep. Oh, and hey, Stephanie. Stephanie's from San Antonio, so she's a neighbor. Well, practically.
Yeah.
Wait, and Janice here.
Where are you going for Applique Getaway this week? Is that Houston?
We're going to Dallas.
Dallas. Okay, so you'll be there.
So, and surprisingly, the Texas geography, it's actually hotter in Dallas than it is here.
Wow.
because there's less green and, less landscape, but it's going to be fine. We're going to be indoors all weekend. It'll be great. We don't have to go outside once we get there.
Yep. So Roberta's asking, does Linda's in McKinney have it?
Yes, they
know.
do.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Linda's and McKinney's a great place to get your cuddle. So they're just a great store all around, and they have a great selection.
And if you don't know, if you're not near Sheila or I, we can't answer that question. If you go to the Shannon Fabrics website, there is a store locator there. So you can check out there where someplace might be local to you to find whatever we're talking about today.
Yeah, that's sure.
So let's get started talking about Cloud Cuddle. I just have a little scrap here, but it does show you it's double-sided. So it's one layer thick here, and it's got that cuddle that we love on both sides. So the face of it is our 3 millimeter length, which is basically what our C3 cuddle that we call it, and the digital prints, they're about 3 millimeters. Then the back is 4 millimeters. So it's just slightly longer. And so the thickness, with 3 plus 4 is going to be 7 millimeters. So it's a little thicker than some of the fabrics that we use, but not quite as thick as most of the luxe cuddles. So it's that sort of in between. And the best part is that double-sided thing. So what kinds of things do you like to make with it, Sheila?
I love Cloud Cuddle because it's wearable. And so, sometimes when so I say it's hot here. It's always summer. It's never winter, except for that one week when we all died because it's gotten down below 50 degrees and then the whole world shuts down. And even then, that's when we need our cuddle the most. but even though the temperature here, the climate is not cool, and you don't necessarily think about snuggling up, we love to be snuggled. So when it's below 70 degrees, it's freezing for us, and so we love the softness. But cuddle is super wearable, and so if I'm making a jacket, like I have a great jacket that I've made that's like a single layer of C3 and the sleeves are luxe cuddle, that is actually perfect for that below 70 degree weather. Cloud Cuddle is kind of good year round. It's a really lightweight fabric. And so I think that's what makes me feel like it's more wearable than some of the other cuddle fabrics, just for like kind of an everyday thing. And we're going to talk about pajamas because it is so cozy, but it's just wearable. And so for a climate like ours, or for summertime, it makes wonderful baby things where your baby's not going to be overheated, because we don't want our babies to overheat, but they can't regulate their temperature as well as we can. So you still want them to be snuggled up and cozy. And so it's great for that too. So yeah, I see Renee says sleep pants. Yes. I mean, it's wonderfully and snuggly. So what about you? What's your favorite thing to make with it, Ajaire?
Well, I'm apparel. That's what I mostly make. And so of course I love Cloud Cuddle for that. But one of the great things is you can make just a super simple blanket with it because it's dual-sided. So all you have to do is you can either bind the edge, or you could add a double-edged ruffle and just serge that on. It's like the fastest baby gift you've ever seen. Really just you're doing one loop around it, or you just serging the edge with a nice flat line. But it's so cozy and awesome under there that another thing you can do with it is you do 2 layers of Cloud Cuddle, like put them together, just put them and do a binding. And then that, because you've got the 7 millimeter and the 7 millimeter on top, it's just this squishiness that feels so soft and snuggly. Like I can't even get over it. So I do really like making those simple little blankets.
Yeah, but it's like light as a cloud too. So that's why,
yes.
Even though you use 2 layers, it's not as heavy. The fabric isn't as heavy per yard.
Yeah. It really,
so it's
like it is. So it's squishy and it like drapes pretty well. But like she said, it's not heavy like some of the other luxes can be, which is what makes it so nice. Before we forget, you guys can share today. If you share this live, you can be entered to win. I think we're doing yardage of Cloud Cuddle, if that's right. So we'll announce at the end. If you put some comments on the Facebook post that we did yesterday, asking questions to be answered today, you'll be entered into that as well. So as we're doing these once a month cuddle conversations, we'll always be posting ahead of time what our topic is and saying, hey, what questions do you have? So if you get one of your questions answered, or even just bring them up, Because sometimes you never know if we're going to answer them. Like, we may not have an answer. We might just say, hey, we've got to check the book. But you'll be entered into that giveaway. So don't forget to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Florida is actually winning here in the participants who've commented where they are. This is funny.
Which
So,
I
yay, Florida.
because Florida's another place where you think like, no, cuddle wouldn't work well there. But guess what? Air conditioning is cold, and you come into the
It,
air conditioning, and you need a little something on the couch to watch TV.
it's right. I mean, and Ajaire, so you've got patterns of your own that you've designed specifically to work with cuddle fabrics,
Yep.
but you've got a cover up. I mean, Adriana's going to show us some of the things, but you've got a cover up that's the perfect swimwear cover up that is just darling.
Oh yeah,
There you go. Ajaire's, yeah, is this some Morgana? Is that the name of it?
Yeah, Morgana, and it's you can either just make a regular sweatshirt style, and then there's this cute cover up style with multiple layers of ruffle. So that's the Cloud Cuddle. And I've got another one here that is the same style, but it was just a little bit bigger to fit my she outgrew that one. Well, I say she outgrew it, she still wears it like every day. But she wears these like as just little cute sweatshirts too. But this one's a little bit bigger with another one of our Cloud Cuddles. But that pattern does do just a regular sweatshirt zip up style. And it's Cloud Cuddle is perfect for it because it's cozy, it's easy to serge. So all the seams are serged on here. I just want to show you really quick that serge seam. So everything's serged nicely and finished. So it's just the one layer thickness, but it's perfect for the beach because all of a sudden that wind kicks up and you've got that little bit of, the kids get cold so fast after they've been wet from swimming. We're pool here, but I'm from Cape Cod, so we go to the beaches in the summer. So we got to have something warm and snuggly at the beach. This stuff works great for any kind of apparel, really.
It is. And, so you talk about going to the beach and you think sand and, all the stuff. Cuddle is super washable and it's so easy to take care of too. So we take care of Cloud the same way we take care of any other C3s, and we wash it. Well, okay, so I'll tell you the way we're supposed to do it, and then I'll tell you what I do because I have kids too. And so what we're supposed to tell you is that you wash it on cool, no fabric softeners in the washer or the dryer. And then you either hang it to dry or you tumble dry on low and then hang it to dry the rest of the way so it still fluffs up. I have boys, dog, cat, we do this. So I put everything on hot water, hot dryer, because I'm killing germs and I'm getting out stains. So, and it's fine too. But
and
I'm supposed to, yes. Yeah. But the official word is that, cool water, low temp. The Cloud Cuddle doesn't have any texture embossed into it. So I don't feel like it's not as finicky as some of the other cuddles. Not that they're finicky,
so
but
this one has been washed a million times because you saw that picture that Adriana showed. That was when it was first made. It hadn't even been washed yet because I was trying to get my pictures done before they actually wear it somewhere and have destroyed it. So this one's been washed a million times. There's like no fading. It's this nice, I mean, that was a belly look. Still just as soft. And just like Sheila, I don't wash on super high heat, but I will throw this in with everything else. I don't separate anything out. And other than the no fabric softener thing, I just put it in the regular high heat dryer. In Maryland, if anything is left a little bit damp, especially in the summertime, but I will say even in the winter, it starts to smell. I mean, you have to have, even if you hang it to dry, you cannot put it away unless it is solidly dry. So I almost need static electricity to make sure the closets aren't going to start to smell. So I don't do a high heat. I just make sure it's very dry. So it's not what we should recommend to you, but that's the nice thing about Cuddles. I feel like it is really forgiving. So even in the worst case scenario, it's still holding up really well. And that's one of the reasons I do love Cloud is because I don't feel like you can do that with all Cuddle. Some of the luxes, like Sheila was saying, if it's embossed, I don't play around with that. No high heat, none of that stuff. So this is really just Cloud. I kind of just throw everything in and I don't worry about it. So
I see it.
Said that. That's our
secret.
Yeah. See that mildew. And I'm from New England where I think mildew is just like our national, like our Massachusetts state smell. But it's nothing like you come further south with that humidity and just it's horrible. So I've really learned to just dry.
I'm going to be grateful for the heat that I have here in South Texas. Oh, Stephanie's asking you this. Do you have a sweatshirt dress pattern?
I
My
don't,
daughter wants a
but
sweatshirt dress cuddle dress.
yes, so I
Ooh.
don't, but I do have. So this is another one of my patterns. This is technically was made as a windbreaker, but then I started making using when I designed it, I decided not just a windbreaker. I wanted it to be able to be used with Cloud Cuddle, so it could be like one of those really oversized Columbia fleeces. Remember those, like from I don't know, like
Mm.
the 90s? And so it's this cute oversized thing. And I've actually made one of these that was longer, so it had that elasticy shape around like the mid thigh area, and it was just super cute and oversized. And this isn't the one, this is the sweatshirt style, but I didn't bring that down. I should have brought that down. It was so cute. But I will say, so it's easy to take a standard, like a sweatshirt dress pattern. Let's say you find one for a kid that you like, and as long as the neckline is wide enough, it pretty much will work with Cloud Cuddle. That's what's so nice about it. The key is it does have some stretch, but not a ton. It doesn't stretch a lot. So I have made my chromium cropped hoodie pattern is like a crew neck. Well, there's also the hood versions, but I've made the crew neck cropped little cute version. And that crew neck is just a little bit snug to fit over the head. So what I do is I just widen that slightly, or I just know it's going to be snug and they don't care. They just rip it on. But that's the thing I've found, especially if you've got anything that zips, like a quarter zip or something, you have no problem. You can just use that same pattern with no adjustments. But the neckline, the arms tend to stretch just enough, so you don't have to worry too much that the arms are going to be snug or tight. That has enough stretch. If it's anything that's going to work with like a sweatshirt material or a French terry, I have found that Cloud works great for that.
Yeah. I'm looking at the neckline of your shirt. And is there a name for that style?
I just call it like a cutout V. I'm sure there's a
Okay.
name for it, but that where it's just a slit, like that slit of a V, that's perfect for Cloud.
Yeah, yeah.
But even this here, even if that was connected, that would be enough. You don't need super wide neck, but you just don't want anything like a turtleneck's not going to work. It's going to stretch, but it just doesn't stretch quite enough. And I do see often that people will put bands or at the neck or at the waist. So they'll do oh my goodness, ribbing. So they can do ribbing. And so you can do ribbing at the arms and at the neck if you wanted to get it to be a little bit stretchier.
Yeah. When we talk about cuddle fabrics being knit fabric, we talk about that a lot. So they're a knit fabric because they're on a base that's not woven. So it's not like a grid that it's woven on. It's actually knitted material, but knit will stretch, but cuddle is a stable knit, and Cloud probably even more so than C3. It's very stable, and so it doesn't have a lot of stretch, and it just kind of it just moves so well, though. It's not finicky, so it's not hard to sew because it's stretch. It's just like it's just fluffy and fun. I see. Oh, so I see. Yes, the boys don't want to be left out of these.
So this is another one of those windbreaker patterns. It's the sweatshirt, but I just wanted to show this is more of like a boy. I mean, this was for my girl and she loves it, but it's like we do have so many Cloud Cuddles now. We have tons of patterns. By patterns I mean prints. So many different versions that there's plenty of boy. There's some good adult ones now. For a while it was kind of a little bit kiddish. Now we've got a lot of adults looks coming. I really love this floral. This is just one of the florals. That's really great. These are PJ pants that I did for my oldest. She's 14.
I've got your matching robe for that right here. Yes, so here is the I'll bring her in.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love it.
So she's the serger version of the Cloud or the Cuddle robe that's on the Shannon Fabrics website. And so we're adapting the pattern to be used with serging, and we'll be teaching that at the International Quilt Festival. So if you are going to be in Houston at the first week of October and you want to get a hands-on thing, the class includes your fabric, and we're going to be using sergers. So you will learn all the things that we're talking about here today for sure. But it's a great pattern to use for the Cloud Cuddle. So I'm just bringing her over here. She's leaning in with me.
Can people can still sign up for that, right? Can they?
Oh yeah, they can still. Well, I think there's still a few openings left, but we're going to search it. So the way I've done robes. I mean, I've sewn with Cloud Cuddle, and then you have a seam allowance on the inside. But when you serge with it, you just have these nice finishes on the inside that are so nice, and it's so easy and wearable. And you think about the seams inside. Some people have texture issues because it's Cuddle. There she goes. Um, it's not really like a texture issue that people tend to worry about. So yeah, I mean, it's really, really wearable. I have an itty bitty robe right here that I made that's a bit like a toddler sized. Oh, there we go. There's one with a Lux Cuddle band. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah. Just imagine that
I mean,
around your neck too.
Yeah.
And that's that
yeah.
same.
Yeah, that's the one that I've got right here, this little cute one. So these are some pictures that we've shown, in the I Love Cuddle group, which is great. And Roberta, I could bring it with me to Applique Getaway if you want to see it. And Deidre's asking, will this class be at QuiltCon next year? Ooh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
You know what? We could work on that.
And
yeah, it's
something Cloud Cuddle would be awesome. Serging.
Exactly. I mean, really, we'd love to bring some cuddle stuff to QuiltCon. And I want to say, lots of people are planning on making their kids strawberry Cloud Cuddle. Yes, Tishwa, that one is so cute. It'll be a darling Christmas robe. I was talking with a gal in Florida this morning, actually, and their area is known for strawberries. I didn't know. But so strawberry Cloud Cuddle in Florida, that sounds amazing. But I love, so this, I was going to show the difference in the seam. So this is a seam with like regular sewing machine seaming. So you can see the seams just, I didn't finish my seams. I didn't do a French seam. I didn't do anything fancy. I just sewed a straight stitch with just like we say too with regular C3. So we say to lengthen your stitch length a little because it's a thick fabric. Use a 90-14 stretch needle. All the same rules. I probably don't pin it as much because it doesn't slide as much. The texture of the fabric is a little bit softer and it's not as slick to me. So it doesn't fight against itself the way regular Cuddle and some of the Luxes do. It's just a different, it's the same fiber. It's 100% polyester. The fabric just has a little bit of a different texture. And so it acts a little bit different. So I feel like, I'm going to see how far I can get away with having to use less pins. Is that I'm gonna break the rules.
And honestly, if I'm making clothing, especially if I'm doing apparel for the girls, I will use the lightning bolt stitch, which we don't use very often with because it does slow everything down so much and you're going back and forth and back and forth. But because it does have a little bit of stretch and they're really hard on their things, and like I said, I just throw things in the wash and I'm not super delicate about it. I do use the lightning bolt stitch for that if I'm using the sewing machine. But the best part about using the serger is that you're killing two birds with one stone, because that serger stitch is meant for stretchy things. So already it's going to allow for any kind of stretch. That's why I'm even loving doing all of my Lux Cuddle throws on the serger now even too. Because even though we lengthen the stitch on the regular machine, it works fine. There's no issues. When I serge that edge, I know no matter how much anybody tugs on it, and not that anybody's fighting over them on the couch or anything, but if anybody tugs them, I know nothing's going to break. No seams are going to rip because that serger stitch is so strong. So either the lightning bolt or the serger stitch is what I'd recommend for clothing. Now, if you're doing a blanket, you're fine with that lengthening stitch. And with clothing, you probably are going to work out fine just to lengthen stitch too. It's just for that extra security, especially with little kids, I do take the time.
Right. And that's another reason why we're using polyester thread too, because there's a little bit of stretch to the thread itself. You can actually get, Metler has a cool thread that actually has some stretch built into it. I'm trying to remember the name of it. If it's on the tip of my tongue, but it's got, it's not Ceracore. Ceracore is the serger thread, which we like using. And, but the,
it is Sarah something though, right?
Ceracycle. Is it Ceracycle?
Sarah something.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It is Sarah something, but it's not Sarah Court.
Stephanie's
asking, how can you sign up for the Quilt Festival class? So do you have a link to that on your
I do.
What?
Yeah, I have a link in my group, and it should be going. It's if you're signed up for the Quilts Inc. website emails, we can get that, but I'll get you that link.
Okay.
So we'll post it in here later. Yeah. It's going to be a great class. And then you don't have to worry about finding the fabric because we'll have a kit for it. So you'll get the fabric there. I see Ren says the fabric is nice because it melts into itself. Yes,
it does.
It does. It really, it just becomes so nice when you sew it or serge it. And I know we keep talking about Mettler Ceraflex. Thank you, Lisa. I knew Lisa would have it. Great. It's nice. So I wanted to show you this corner too of this. So I'm working on this one and I did 3 edges. This is just a big blanket. So it's just a chunk. So if you're the winner of the cut of Cloud Cuddle today from the show, you could do this. So I just took the 2-yard piece of Cloud Cuddle. Okay, so this is that same one that Ajaire made her Morgana out of. And I only have 1 seam down each row. So I am not like finishing my edge and then turning it under and turning it under again. All I did was use my favorite 3-thread flat lock stitch on my serger. It's the wide flat lock. So if you have a Bernina L8 series, it's stitch number 5. Okay, so that's my favorite. And then I've done some things to it. We'll talk about, like, I have a little recipe. I'll give you my recipe and Ajaire will give you her recipe. But I took and I just folded that edge over, folded it up, and then, you know how like you do a blind stitch when you're doing pants? That's all I did on here. And so I folded it up so it barely trimmed off any on the edge. I used a cool rainbow thread because the fabric's rainbow on top. Isn't that cute? And you can still see it a little bit on the instead of the, through the fluff. It's just so pretty.
Knife, right? Like the knife was engaged?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I did have the knife engaged because I wanted that nice clean thing.
Yep.
And then I did that 3-thread wide flat lock. And then when you turn it over like this, it looks like you have a seam, right? So it's like a blind stitch seam, except you actually see more of the seam. And then when you pull on it just a tiny bit, and it's hard to see in the cloud, but that seam will flatten out. So instead of your instead of like in a seam allowance, you've got your pieces of fabric where they fold under like this. What happens when you do a flat lock seam is your edges of fabric. So you're sewing it together. So here's your edges, my fingernails. And then when you pull it apart, they kind of, one slides over the other like this. So it's not as thick. And it's just a really nice finish. And you get this great effect. And so at the corners, I think at the corners is my favorite part. So look how the front looks at the corners. I mean, y'all, I'm not a precise sewer, and that is almost, that one's not the right one. That one's the one I needed to fix something on. But it's pretty perfect.
I will tell you, that might have been the one.
Here we go.
Something, but it still looked great from my end. So,
so I just grabbed it again. So I'll show you what I need to fix. So I didn't quite catch the fabric all right there. But so you can see it's just barely any fabric that's caught in that blind stitch area. But then you pull it apart and those seams kind of flatten out right now, and it's just so easy. It's so easy. So this blanket, 4 straight lines, and then this is the way the back looks on those hems.
Looks great.
I mean, it's awesome. Fine. Like I've bought blankets that have
for sure
not as nice finishes.
So Tissue is asking, if you don't have a serger, what is the best stitch? So we always say with Cuddle, you lengthen, you can just do a regular straight stitch and you can lengthen that stitch to like a 3.5 millimeter, 4 millimeter, as long as you're using that 100% polyester thread. But what I was talking about on the regular machine with Cloud Cuddle, because it's such an easy fabric to sew and it's not quite as fussy as some of the other cuddles, I do the lightning bolt stitch. It's the knit stitch. Other companies might call it something else, but it's that one that kind of looks like a lightning bolt. And we don't often use it with some of the Luxe Cuddles because as you're going back and forth and up and down, you're getting more chances for your fabric to want to slip on you, even if you're double pinning. But because the Cloud Cuddle does go through so nicely, that extra little bit of back and forth, it doesn't mess anything up. And so it goes through it pretty quickly. And it's a really nice, secure, stretchy stitch. But you could use a narrow zigzag you could use if you want a little extra stitch. But yeah, so that's what I would say if you don't have a serger. And like Sheila said, the fabric won't fray, just like the rest of the Cuddles. If the fabric does not fray on the edge, it is a knit product. So you can leave those seams just raw. Like you can just stitch it down and leave them raw with Cloud Cuddle.
Yeah. Sean is asking what is the best thread to use with Cuddle fabric, and we do recommend 100% polyester thread. Now, there's like 100 different kinds of polyester thread, so you gotta gauge it by what is available to you. What can you get locally, or if you order online, did the place that you order it online from, what do they have? We like using the Metler, the 40 weight sewing thread, 100% polyester sewing thread. There are 40 weight polyester embroidery threads, and there's threads for every possible thing, but it's just a sewing thread. It's just a plain sewing thread. And in my serger, I have one right here, just the Metler Ceracore serger thread. And so, like embroidery, I speak in embroidery, I'm like, it's not embroidery thread, because embroidery is 100% polyester. Usually it's not shiny and slick like embroidery thread. It has a little bit more of a texture, so it looks cotton. I think some companies call it cottonized. So maybe, I don't know how they've done it, but they've texturized it a little bit so it's not slippery. But embroidery thread would be really slippery, and you could use it if you want. If that's all you have, use it. But get some specific sewing thread that's 100% polyester, that's 40 weight, and that'll be really good. Yeah, Tisha says some of the polyester threads look like they are actually cotton thread. Yeah, I know. Yes. Metler just came out with a cotton thread that they have. Lisa Lewitt got some to try when we were at H&H, and he was like, try this and see. And it's supposed to be strong like polyester. So I'm actually excited about that, because I know some machines don't like using polyester thread. So I have one machine that only wants to use cotton thread. I roll my eyes at her, right? Yeah, really? So that would be a good thread to try using in that machine. So, but you've got to go on what your machine likes first. So that's, we take care of our babies, so they take care of us, and we feed them what they want so that they'll do what we want. And so you will develop your own recipe. You want to use this fabric, you want to use your machine, and so figure out what thread works best for your machine and for what you're making. And so let's see, Tisha also has another one. Grace's Finesse looks and feels like cotton. It's crazy. Awesome. That's really great. Yeah, okay. Creative Appliques, that's our friend who's a Cuddle ambassador also, she's a fellow embroiderer. So she says that she has been using her serger along with Cuddle fabric. Right? Yay! We're doing all the serging. So. So fun. Oh, and Roberta says that they came out with a bonded thread. Yeah, a bonded polyester thread is usually used for bag construction, so it's a little bit stronger thread. You could get a bonded polyester or a bonded nylon thread. And I think that bonded polyester thread actually looks super great on Cuddle fabric too, especially if you want to see your stitches on the edge like that, because a bonded thread is a little bit heavier. And so it's going to be really great for serging, but really great on your sewing machine if you want to see a little bit more of your thread, because as we know with Cuddle, sometimes the thread sinks in because we've got the pile of the fabric. And if you want to see it, you use a thicker thread so you can kind of see what you're doing. Deidre says she sewed a blanket for her grandson with Cuddle. Oh, wonderful. That's so nice. We have more projects that Adriana could show us that from the I Love Cuddle group. If you've posted a picture of something that you've made with Cloud Cuddle, we've kind of pulled a bunch of those pictures, and Adriana could show us some of those, but people have made all kinds of things. Here's some blankets. I love this one that Jessie Barton did. She just took it looks like Linda Tachik did the same thing, a single layer of Cloud Cuddle, and then wrapped the edge with the Luxe Cuddle as the binding. And we've got a tip sheet for that technique. It's on the Shannon Fabrics website. We talk about binding your quilts with Cuddle. So this would just be binding. You're not binding a whole quilt. You're just binding one piece of fabric and doing the same thing. And I love how she put the Made with Love tag on it. That also is a care label. So if you can get your hands on some of those, I know a store like Linda Z's will have those Made with Love labels too. And there's another one. Linda White made a Cloud Cuddle blanket again with the Luxe binding. That looks like it might be either Mallard Galaxy.
It looks like it.
With the mottled edge, but that's super cute. And then Reen Wilcoxon's another one of our Cuddle ambassadors, and her husband Dave's modeling his buffalo check Cloud Cuddle pajama pants for Christmas. So I love that.
I love that buffalo check.
I just too. And here's some little PJ pants, like little baby PJ pants. I made some with the um, treetop snow one, and then Jackie used the dinosaur. This is just so adorable. Not only did she make the PJ pants, but she made the little dinosaur stuffy and the little baby shoes. Wouldn't that be precious for a little baby sheep?
And Cloud
So
Cuddle does work great with stuffies because it gives that extra little squishiness like I was talking about before. So it is really fun to do with stuffies as well.
yeah, it sure is. So Jackie Hillman, I forgot to say, she's another one of our cuddle ambassadors, and she just sews the cutest things. Holly Harwood's one of our friends, and she made a whole pajama set out of this. So Holly, hope you don't mind. We're sharing your pajamas, but oh my gosh, these are so cute. And I love the you can see how you can make the tiny straps with the cuddle for those camisoles and those pajama pants. And then Jackie made another baby set, and she did these as a double layer for her baby blanket and put the satin binding, ruffle binding around it, which I love so much. And a burp cloth and a baby bib. I mean, it's just good for all the baby things.
So easy, and it's just like a big wow factor.
Yeah. And we're kind of obsessed with the Highland cows. So Denise Davenport, who's another one of our cuddle ambassadors, she's in Rhode Island, but she had made these pajama pants and then took a little piece and used it as an applique on a pajama shirt, and has something about cow hair.
Wild hair don't care.
Wild hair don't care. Love it. Love it. Love it. Super cute. And then again, here's another Cloud Cuddle robe. Rochelle's husband is modeling that for us. But, it doesn't matter what fabric's on there as long as you're snuggly and cozy. And that is also the free the free cuddle robe pattern on the website. So anybody can make that. Super fun. We also have classes for that in store. So if you want to do this as a group project, let your quilt shop know and tell them, to bring a class out to them. And then, Adriana, go back just one real quick. I want to talk about that strip quilt, because that is like a technique that we do a lot with cuddle fabric, is making a strip quilt. And so this is just incorporating some of that cloud fabric into a regular cuddle blanket. And so, like Ajaire said, when you use the cloud as one of the fabrics in there, the cloud fabric is just so lofty without being fussy and hard to deal with, but it adds an extra layer of texture in there that's just really squishy and yummy. And so, yeah, thanks, Adriana, for showing that one. You can use it for anything, even if you're not going to take advantage of the double-sidedness. But oh yeah, so great. And then here, there's that fun rainbow animal print as the robe, and then a little girl's robe with the Cloud Cuddle for the body, and then using Luxe as the trim and the belt. So just so many ways you can use it. And again, more pajama bottoms, of course. I do love some of these plaids and other prints like that. And here's another robe. This is not the pattern on our website, but you can see it's got the notched lapel. So they use Luxe for that one, but so if you already have a robe pattern that you've used before, try using Cloud with it and see what you think.
Yeah, pretty much any robe pattern would work because it is so versatile. Your favorite robe pattern will work great with Cloud.
Yeah. Ajaire, what do you think about that little cowl?
It's so cute. It is cute. So it does like little onesies and like actual, character onesies that people make. It's a great Halloween fabric if you're looking for a costume, because it's so soft and snuggly, easy to work with.
Oh my goodness, that would be an adorable Halloween costume, wouldn't it? And then here's another one. Of course, we have a sunflower print in the Cloud because that's so popular, but just it's just so simple, but so beautiful, and then so cozy. Really, really nice for a little chair blanket or a living room throw. Yeah. And then here's some of that. There's that strawberry print that's new, and those dogs are just adorable. And I'm obsessed with the Starry Night.
Me too. I haven't had my hands on it yet, but I love it.
I do too. It's just really wonderful. That berry is really cute because it's got a light blue kind of gingham background. Yeah. I think that's super sweet. But yeah, if you've got a store that carries Cuddle, they can get the Cloud Cuddle as well. They just, they just need to let us know, and they'll have a rep. They can call Shannon directly, and they can order it, and then just ask them to get it for you. Here's some more. There's the cow print, that blue plaid, and then the sunflowers again. And you can see close up the way the other side is. It feels just like the front side does. So it's just as soft on the front. It's not like a terry or a polar fleece where you've got kind of a right side and a wrong side. I mean, we obviously have a right side and a wrong side, but there's nothing wrong about the wrong side of Cloud. It's good.
Exactly. I just wanted to show some quick techniques. So if you have your existing pattern, but like I said, a lot of these patterns that are meant for not super stretch, but like a sweatshirt weight kind of stretch, it'll work great with the Cloud. And in this one, this is part of my Morgana pattern, and it's a pocket that goes in the front. And what I did here was the pocket is supposed to be, you take two pieces back to back, and you sew the tops together and this part together, and it makes clean edge. And then you stitch it onto the front of the thing. But with Cloud, that makes, sorry, I'm going backwards with my fingers here. Drives me crazy when it doesn't mirror me, because I'm like, what am I doing here? But it makes it almost a little too thick for the pocket, because that pocket's going to really stand out in the front. It's super soft, but you don't need that bottom part to be the quote unquote right side. So I used the fact that it doesn't fray on the edges to our advantage here. And so I just did a one side and used a zigzag to stitch it down. So it's stitched down there and it's stitched down there. And it's just the one side, and you can put your hand in there, and it's so soft, but it's not all that thickness on the front. So because we didn't need the two layers there, I only used the one. This is obviously, these are just step out. So this would be, the zipper would be here and the bottom would be there. But there are little things like that that you can do to an existing pattern that work great with Cloud and take that advantage. Like this right here is just a raw edge, but nothing's going to happen with this raw edge. On one of them, I did add a binding. So you could add, this is the C3 sparkle. You could add a binding there, or you could just add a binding on that open edge if you were worried about it, or just didn't like the look of the unfinished edge. But that's one way to deal with taking something that's existing and you don't want it super puffy in front where the pockets are. You can just make it that one layer.
Right, especially because you're going to put the zipper right there. And so you don't necessarily want to go through 3 layers of, exactly. So if it's 7 millimeters times 3, that's 21 millimeters. That's 2 centimeters of fluff when it's not squished. Yeah. That's a lot of height.
And it's doable. I definitely done it that way before, but it looks nicer too. It doesn't look as puffy there. So yeah, just kind of think about what you could do to change some of the thicknesses like that.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a wrong. This is one of those times where deviating from the pattern, it's not wrong. You're doing the thing that you want to do. So you're getting a result that you need by adapting to your fabric and what you have there. Somebody says they don't own a serger, but would love to for making clothing. What would be the benefit of using a serger with Cuddle fabrics?
So obviously we've talked a lot about sergers already today, and Sheila and I are in the middle of being serger obsessed. So the benefit for me with Cuddle fabrics is speed. It goes a lot faster, but it has control. So you can go faster and finish that seam, but it's very controlled and it doesn't feel like you're speeding. So there's that. What I really like about it is that serged edge gets really nice and tightly flat in there. So it makes a nice smooth seam. It's not as bulky as it can be if you've got just the 2 open, you can fold and press or whatever. But it just feels less bulky in there. It's nice and smooth. The stretchiness of it, because it's meant for knit fabrics, to work with knit fabrics, it has already some stretch in it, like without even having to do a special stitch. What about you, Sheila? Anything that I'm leaving out there?
Yeah. A serger stitch is strong. It's strong because when we're doing a sewing machine, we've got a top thread and a bottom thread, and they're connecting along as you stitch. I can't get my they're grabbing each other every once in a while. A serger stitch, you can do a 2-thread serger stitch and you get that same effect. And they're not quite doing the same thing that a sewing machine does because the mechanism is different. They have loopers and top threads. Uh, but with a serger, you can get up to 4 or 5. Some sergers have 6, lots of threads that you're using. And so all those threads are locking together around the edge and back into the seam. So it's really a much tighter, it's a little bit more thread, but the thread that you use for the serger is a lighter weight thread. So it's thinner than sewing machine thread. So it's not thicker necessarily than a regular seam. In fact, a lot of times when you're serging, you get a less bulky seam because of the way the serger has trimmed and compressed that seam allowance. And so I do that. So there's some things that I do on my serger. And so if you're going to use your serger with Cloud, you're going to want to lessen the presser foot pressure just like you do with your sewing machine. And so there's an adjustment on your serger to do that. And I also lengthen the stitch length just like I do with the sewing machine, and you can adjust that on there. And then depending on the effect I want, and this is I guess where we can talk about our recipe because we only have a few more minutes left. But I have like a recipe, like I love a 3-thread flat lock for serging with, and that is my favorite stitch. Well, except for the cover stitch, and then except for the chain stitch, but that's a whole other topic. But these are my favorite settings. So I lower the tension on my needle and I increase my stitch length to 3.5 or 4. So this is my serger, my Bernina L890, it comes like I tell it I want to do that stitch, and then it adjusts all the tensions for me. And I could just start sewing and not have to deal with any dials or anything. But because I'm doing Cloud Cuddle or I'm doing another cuddle, I will further adjust my settings so that I'll get a little bit lighter tension on the needles, a little bit longer stitch length, and then I practice with a scrap to see if that's exactly what I want. On my serger, I can actually save that stitch and I can call it my favorite Cloud flat lock stitch or whatever I'm using it for. But I do that. And so when I do that flat lock stitch with the longer stitch length and with the needle tension a little bit loose, when I pull my layers apart, so I've sewn them like this and my fingertips are where the fabric edges meet, and then I want to say yank on it, but I'm not really yanking on it. I mean, I'm tugging. Yeah, I'm tugging that out. And when I tug, they kind of flip over. And so one layer's over on top of the other. And so I've got my 2 layers there. And then I can see on the top these little ladders. Let's see if I can get, I just knocked over the mannequin. I can see these little ladders. It's real hard to see on Cloud because we've got a little bit of fluff there, but you can feel.
Here. That's the
okay.
Black.
There you go.
I have black thread because I was sewing black before.
Yeah. You see those little ladders, and you'll see that stitch on a lot of professionally finished activewear. So it's a quality stitch. It's super strong and it's flat. It's nice. It's not bulky. And I think that's why I love it so much. So, oh, Deidre says she saved a cuddle stitch too. Yay!
Yay! I know mine are like cuddle this, cuddle that, cuddle this.
Okay, Ajaire, what's your favorite cuddle stitch on the serger?
Lisa also mentioned that with a serger, you don't have to worry about the bobbin running out, right?
That's right.
Top and you can see them, and there's no bobbin running out, so that's great. So when we're just doing a regular serger overlock stitch on the Bernina L8 series, I've been lengthening the stitch length, just like Sheila said, to 4, 4.5. I don't do anything with the needles. I leave those settings the same. I think they're at a 4. But I just leave them. And then the differential, I lower that down to 0.7, which is the lowest setting. And I feel like that helps feed it through a little bit better. Now, that's not necessarily for Cloud. I think with Cloud, you could probably use the regular differential setting. I would still up that stitch length. But I've been sewing a lot of Lux Cuddle with the serger, and that differential to 0.7 just really helps.
Tell us a little bit about what differential means.
So differential is, you think about 4-wheel drive in your car. So you've got the front tires and the back tires. So the differential is how your fabric is feeding through. So you've got, it's pulling here and it's pulling here. And when you change the differential, it changes how they're working together. And so it's getting them to work together to pull your fabric through correctly. So when you've got 4-wheel drive on, those back tires and front tires are all helping go forward. So that differential, like bringing it up or down, is going to either kind of pull the fabric apart or push it together, depending on how those quote unquote wheels are working. So you want to just play with it and figure out what works for you. But on the Bernina L8 series, this is what has been working great with Cuddle.
It's really like the difference of using like your walking foot with your sewing machine. I kind of compare it to that. So it's like we use our walking foot to sew Cuddle over there. And then on the serger, we might need to adjust the differential feed a little bit too.
Yep.
So Stephanie asked, would you use the serger to make the strip Cuddle quilt kit? Yes, I would definitely I have used the serger to make a strip Cuddle quilt kit. And you know why? Because it's faster. I love to go fast, and so the serger does sew faster. I think my machine stitches 1,000 stitches per minute. It's pretty fast, but a serger stitches a little bit faster and is stronger.
That's the cover stitch part of your serger, right? Are you flat locking?
I would flat lock it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to.
I would regular overlock too.
So you do.
There's also
for the strip.
I think there's 33 stitches built into my serger, so I've got lots. I mean, you could do a 2-thread. Like there's a setting in the cover stitch settings that it's a chain stitch. Okay, so or a lock stitch sometimes they're called. So it's like a thread on top and a thread on the bottom. It's not really truly on the bottom, but the bottom thread is it's kind of a looped chain stitch. Okay, and you could use that, and then you don't have to ever worry about running out of bobbin thread because you've got 4,000 yards on your spool of thread. I think that has 4,000 yards, but you've got a lot of thread, so I'm not worried about having to stop in the middle of a long line and do my bobbin again when I've got all of this stuff here. So yeah, I totally would do it on the serger, and then it cuts some of that bulk out too.
Yeah. All right, so we're talking about ruffles. Someone asked this question. That she uses her serger to make ruffles out of her satin fabric, and would she need to make adjustments to use ruffles with Cloud Cuddle? So for Cloud Cuddle, we talked about this on a live many moons ago about ruffling or gathering with Cloud Cuddle. Now, I have used the serger foot for ruffling. So there's either a shirring foot or a ruffling foot. The ruffling foot really just kind of pleats it. It pleats it as it goes. And they're meant for really lightweight fabrics like a satin. And so it doesn't quite grab enough of that thicker fabric as it goes through. So doesn't really have fantastic results just running it through the serger with the ruffle foot. So I don't recommend that. Now, if you had a ruffler for your sewing machine, which is a little bit more, it does a lot more grabbing of the pleats as it goes through, that might be heavy duty enough to take the thicker fabric. But what I do is I gather. So as I showed you with the Morgana, it does have some gathering in there. So there are some like kind of ruffly areas. And that with the Cloud Cuddle, you would do it just like you would gather anything on your sewing machine by taking basting stitches. So what I do is I do 3 basting stitches, which sounds crazy and nobody likes to do that because who wants to sew 3 times? I mean, neither do I. But when it comes to especially Cloud Cuddle, and I honestly, guys, I do this pretty much with any of my ruffling now, and I'll show you why in these other samples. But I just take the 3 back threads. So these are the the 3 bobbin threads, and I'm going to pull them. But what I do is you can see 2 are kind of close together, and this third one is further apart. And what I'm doing is I'm stitching 2 basting stitches pretty close to the top, and then 1 outside the seam allowance. So wherever my seam allowance, which for this is 3/8 of an inch, so it's right in between, I want to try to avoid that area if I can, because I'm going to stitch between there. But I just take the 3, those 3 bobbin threads and pull. And it goes really easily. I'm not worried about breaking this thread because it is that polyester, and it just glides along so nicely. This isn't a big long piece, so I'm being careful that I don't just go right off the edge there. But it does ruffle really nicely. And so you do get that really nice little gather. But the reason I do 3, and I'll show you, here is just using 1 thread. So it ruffled it and it gathered it. It looked almost the same as this when I started. But when I sewed it together with the layers, with just that 1 line, it doesn't stay really nicely. It doesn't stick. So that's 1. This one I did 2. So it does stay a little bit better. So if you do 2, you get a little bit better of a result. But with the 3, it really just, it tightens them up and it keeps them secured because that last line that you did was below it. So you're stitching in between. So when you remove that other one, like it's kind of like what we do with the double pinning. We're pinning outside of where we're going to stitch and it's staying in there while we stitch. So that last gather is kind of holding it in place while we stitch. So I often don't even remove that one until after I've actually sewn the 2 layers together. But it just gives a better result. So it takes longer because you're doing that extra straight stitching. But these, again, these were done on the regular sewing machine. I just stopped trying to ruffle on the serger with the Cloud Cuddle because it's a little bit too thick. And if anyone has had great success with it, I'd love to know, because I tried changing the settings. I tried, differential settings and stuff like that, which can work. And it works fantastic on even cotton. I've tried some thicker fabrics too, but just the thickness of the Cloud Cuddle or any of the cuddles really doesn't work fantastically for that.
Ajaire, that was a fantastic demonstration. I had not ever done 3 rows of stitching, and I think that is a great way to, I mean, you're right. It's like the control that we're expecting when we do all the double pinning, and you've done that control, like you're controlling where that ruffle is going to end up. That's really great. Thank you so much for showing us that. You could, so if you wanted to use your serger on the ruffle, though, you could use the serger to finish the edge.
Oh, absolutely. I often will just finish. So once I've done this, in fact, to do the 2 layers together, I probably wouldn't even sew the 2 layers together. I probably would go straight to the machine and put the gathered with this and then run that through the serger.
And then serge it. Yeah. So and then you could serge the edge too with a rolled, I mean, the finishing hem and the thicker thread or something like that. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to incorporate your serger use into sewing with Cuddle. But doing those cloud ruffles, I mean, the fabric is so lightweight and fluffy. I feel like having ruffles with it too just gives it a little bit of extra bounce and fun because the fabric's so great. So yeah, that's awesome. Did we have any other questions specifically about Cloud Cuddle? And again,
we might be able to pick winners too from today. I don't want to forget to pick
winners. We do want to pick some winners. I see lots of people, babies love Cuddle. Yeah. I mean, when you feel the Cloud Cuddle, when you get some, it is so nice. I mean, it's just different than the regular Cuddle, but it's so nice. It's snuggly.
One thing that we didn't mention is pressing, because I am like always pressing everything because of apparel sewing. It presses great. So I usually do use some sort of pressing cloth. I mean, when I say pressing cloth, I just use an old piece of cotton that I just, wash and reuse. I do use a pressing cloth. I do a low iron setting. It doesn't have to be the lowest. It's very forgiving. And then I use my tailor's clapper all the time to kind of lock in the steam. But I do use steam with it, with the Cloud Cuddle. I've had no issues. So sometimes getting those crisper seams, you do want to press. So I've had no problems pressing the front or the back of Cloud Cuddle, because that's always a question that comes up when you're instructions will say to press and you think, oh, should I press it? But I again use the pressing cloth if you're concerned about it. But yeah, I've had no problems.
Yeah. And really, when you're pressing, you're going to the next level of sewing, so that we don't ever want somebody to say, oh boy, that looks really homemade. I mean, that's not what we're after. We're after those professional finishes. Yeah. So pressing is just one way to it's just a few more minutes. And doesn't take a lot of time.
These are just pressed up hems. So, you just press that hem and it locks it in. So oftentimes with thicker fabrics, if you press, you leave it and then it just pops right open again. So I just press, and I don't even use pins to hold the hem in, because it's locked that steam in so well that it stays folded over when I go to stitch it. So it really does press very well.
Right. It really does. It's just, that extra attention to detail that we're, we want you to have success. All right, let's see who our winners are for today. I'm really excited. Adriana, tell us who we know. Oh, how exciting. We have 3 winners. Tisha Bradley, Maria McCaig, and I hope I said that right, Marie Greeler. So if you will email info@shannonfabrics.com, tell us your name, all your shipping info and your phone number so that the shipping company can get a hold of you, and put in the subject line live winners. So y'all are our winners today, and you're going to get some Cloud Cuddle to work with. I'm super excited for y'all to get to play with this. So congratulations. Thank you for joining us. And if you have more questions, if this brought up other questions, leave them in the comments. We'll go back and check it. Yep. But we will bring you another topic next month. So we can't wait to keep talking about cuddle with you and have these cuddle conversations.
Yep. And join our I Love Cuddle Fabric Facebook group. Share over there any cuddle projects that you've worked on, whether it's Cloud Cuddle or anything else. Feel free over there to ask for new topics for cuddle conversations. We're doing these monthly, so we'd love to hear what you guys want to hear about. We can continue the conversation over there. Most of the cuddle ambassadors are over there ready and willing to answer any questions you have. And it's just fun to share. It's fun. It's a great group, lots of positive energy. We love seeing what you guys all make.
Yep. All right. We'll see you soon. So thanks for joining us today.